3 tips for making a multi-day fast much easier. I tried multi-day fasts in the past that weren't that easy, and I actually got headaches in a way that I couldn't work anymore. So here is tip 1. Get fat adapted before. This means try to extend your fasting periods before you are actually attempting to do something like this. So maybe it's just an hour more or 2 hours more and then 3 hours more. And then you fasted for half a day until you finally can do the multi-day thing. The meal before and the meal after. The meal before should be potentially ketogenic. Why? Because this already puts your body in a ketogenic mode. And if you then fast, it is also burning fat. So therefore, it makes it way easier because the transition actually already happened, kind of. Compared to you eating carbs, then your liver filling up and your muscles also filling up with glycogen. Then burning the glycogen, and then only the ketogenic part of the fast hitting a few hours after, or maybe 12 hours, maybe it's 16 hours after. It depends on what you eat, how you eat, how much you eat. The meal after, still tip 2. If you are multi-fast daying or multi-day fasting for the first time, what you need to know is that if you then start to eat again, you shouldn't just eat your 500,000 or 1,500 calorie meal, but you have to actually prevent something called refeeding syndrome. What is refeeding syndrome? It is basically the body overreacting to food. So what you, instead of just throwing it all in after the fast, have to do is that you have to start very, very slowly. For me, what worked out quite fine is either to eat the salad in the beginning of breaking the fast. So I break the fast with a salad, for example. What this results in is avoiding sugar, for example, so it doesn't spike your insulin that high. And so basically, you should again eat ketogenic, but just leave out the fat. So basically just eat vegetables, maybe even without the oil in the beginning. Because then you actually have something in your stomach that is kind of very voluminous and doesn't have a lot of nutrients and has a lot of water. So therefore, the rate of the nutrients you get into your bloodstream is very low. And the digestion has to take place over time or takes probably very long. Compare this to eating sugar, for example, just pure sugar, then the digestion appears, compared to the previous example, almost immediately, and therefore it is probably way worse. If you then combine it additionally with fat, so sugar and fat, then you have a very high insulin spike, and in addition to this, you also have a very high calorie amount in terms of the fat, and then you tend to store things as fat way more easily. Why? Because you are way more insulin sensitive. This means at a given amount of calories, your cells just open up way more because of the insulin sensitivity, and also at a given amount of insulin release. This then means that potentially a higher portion of your macronutrients and micronutrients is stored as fat. So now, practically, what worked for me is to just eat the salad in the beginning and then to wait. Because in the beginning, you also won't have that much hunger. Especially, you will be full very easily if you fasted for 2 days, for example. This is usually enough time to empty your digestive tract to a big extent, I would say. So now, your stomach has shrunken to maybe the size of a fist, for example. And if you now put in some food, you will also be full very soon. So therefore, what I realized is that the body then realizes that, oh, there are nutrients coming in, but it only realizes this after like 1 or 2 hours. So therefore, after a fast, usually, if it's a daily fast or also a multi-day fast, I basically eat something, and then my hunger and also my taste sensation begins to rise. So what is happening often is that if you want to eat psychologically, but your body is actually not really prepared to, then food just doesn't taste. You can eat something and you will be full, and it also just doesn't taste. And this leaves you psychologically with kind of an empty experience. The trick is to eat something in the beginning and then to wait. Usually for me, if I fast for a day, for example, OMAD, 1 meal a day, then my hunger and also my taste sensation tends to spike after 1 or 2 hours. If you only want to eat then 2 hours totally, and you want to do one meal a day again, and then maybe have a multi-day fast, then this potentially creates the problem that your taste sensation and also your hunger peaks after your eating window, which is not very nice. So therefore, what I would recommend after a multi-day fast, maybe extend the period of eating, the eating window maybe a little bit more, and maybe eat for 4 hours, for example, or eat 2 meals a day. So in the beginning, in the first 2 hour eating period, I would say, then you eat something like vegetables, then you wait a little bit. This is completely based on my experience and also biased on my experience. And then after some time, you eat more. People like Thomas de Lauer, for example, recommend eating the protein first and then only after eating maybe carbs and also fat. Compared, of course, this depends on which diet you are on. More a high carb of a diet or more a high fat of a diet, aka the ketogenic diet. Now, the third tip is drinking salt. Why drinking salt and not just eating salt? And why salt at all? If you fast, and this depends on how fat adapted, but also on how fat adapted you are, but also it depends on how, well, fast adapted you are. So if you have done this before, your body knows under stress it needs to handle the micronutrients and also the electrolytes in your body differently. The problem is that if you are used to eating 3 times a day, then your body is used to getting electrolytes out of your digestive tract basically all the time. And also with carbohydrates, for example, for every unit of carbohydrate, there's a certain amount of water stored with the carbohydrate. So therefore, you have to drink and ingest salt slightly differently. And if you don't manage to do this right, this could result in the headaches that are usually, for the most part, an electrolyte imbalance. This means you have too little salt, too little potassium, too little sodium. So now what you can actually do, and this is now, at least in my experience, working, then what you can do is you take salt, you dissolve it into a bottle. Because why the bottle? Because then not every time you drink something you actually need to have salt, and you need to pour it in, and then the salt goes everywhere because maybe it didn't fit into the bottle. So what I did is I have a small bottle, and in this bottle I pour a lot of salt, and then I add water. And now if I have, let's say, a big chunk, so there are these big bottles you can get for fitness, for example. I could actually get it right now. If you then have a big bottle and you also have your small bottle, which is where the salt is actually stored in, but in liquid form. This means whenever you now fill the big chunk, the big bottle up, what you can potentially do is you just add just a little drop of this salty water in here, and then the whole thing is slightly salty. I think you can use your taste buds of salt, your salt sensation, as kind of a proxy on how much salt you actually want to digest. Not digest, but ingest. If the water is actually tasting too salty and you have still a dry mouth after drinking something, then obviously you have too high of a salt intake. So what this results in, the salt then in your bloodstream actually takes basically water out of your cells, and then you basically cannot take in the water. This is slightly problematic because then you drink and you actually don't get hydrated. This is actually the problem that prevents people from drinking water, seawater, salted seawater in the ocean. And now, if you have too little salt, what this results in is that your body doesn't, for some reason, doesn't really know how to handle it well, and this results in headaches. And if you get one of these headaches, and these are called, so the combination of symptoms that are coming from the ketogenic diet or also from longer term fasts is called the keto flu, because it actually feels like a flu. You get headache, you feel maybe slightly ill. Sometimes you also have, or at least I have, kind of the stomach feeling very weird, and this results in potentially, if you do this wrong, at least in my experience, it potentially results in you not being able to do anything for a given day because you're actually kind of having the flu. It is just not a real flu, but it is the result of you not being able to manage all the things well enough, good enough, that are in association or required for doing the keto diet the right way, but also doing multi-day fasts the right way. And this then potentially results in you not even really noticing that you are fasting anymore. So why am I talking about this right now? Because I actually fasted last Saturday completely. So I did a 24-hour fast. Because I usually eat only 2 times or 1 time a day, it was already a 41-hour fast. That's the beauty of eating once a day, because if you then miss the one meal, then automatically this results in basically a 46-hour fast if you then eat on the second day, which is nice because it makes these things very easy. And then I ate on Sunday, and now it's Tuesday, and I only ate on Sunday. This means I'm now also in a fast that is a few hours in. And till now, I had almost no hunger since I ate very ketogenic before, and I also did not experience any major headaches. Yesterday I almost had like a little bit of a headache, but it just went away after I then drank salted water again.